At first, Trades seems like just another playful episode, two kids spying on strangers digging up their yard. But something's off. Tension brews, secrets unfold. And what starts as a silly game slowly reveals a deeper truth about how children see conflict and how often adults get it wrong. We open with Bluey and Bingo doing what kids do best: playing, making up stories, and assigning meaning to the world around them. When two unfamiliar tradies arrive, Sparky and Chippy, the girls don't see them as workers. They immediately label them as enemies. From the moment the white truck pulls up, blasting rock music, the tone is set. It's loud, new, unfamiliar. And to kids, unfamiliar often equals suspicious. What's interesting is how quickly the girls start building an entire narrative around these two men. They spy on them from under the house. They give them nicknames: Big Belt and Chocolate Milk. They scrutinize their actions, assign motives, and begin to connect imaginary dots. To them, they are the enemies. They notice everything: the glances, the silences, who's working and who's distracted. Every moment becomes a clue, but their conclusions aren't built on full context. They're built on guesswork, timing, and what things look like, not what they actually are. They're judging a book by its cover, and really, who doesn't? This is the first key idea in the episode. Kids absorb far more than we realize, but they don't always understand what they're seeing, so they fill in the gaps. Bluey and Bingo are trying to do what we all do when we feel uncertain. They're trying to make the unknown feel a little more knowable. What makes Trades such a cleverly constructed episode is that it plays out on two levels at the same time. On the surface, we see the girls engaged in this spy game, but as viewers, we're also watching the real adult drama unfold just behind the scenes. And here's where things get more layered. We learn that Sparky and Chippy have a bit of tension between them. Sparky is focused on getting the job done. Chippy is often distracted by his phone. He's not slacking off to be lazy. He's dealing with something. A woman named Cherry, who we soon find out is his partner, or maybe someone he's trying to reconcile with. There's no heavy exposition here, no dramatic arguments, just small, revealing moments. Chippy making apologetic phone calls, Sparky getting irritated but still looking out for him. It's real, quiet adult tension, filtered through the eyes of two kids playing detective. And because Bluey and Bingo only catch fragments of these interactions, they come to conclusions that aren't wrong exactly, just incomplete. Bluey and Bingo see Cherry as Chippy's enemy simply because their conversation seems tense. When Sparky mentions that me missus won't let him eat pies, they decide she must be against him too. And every small disagreement between the tradies feels, to them, like undeniable proof that everyone is in conflict. They're observing honestly, but interpreting through a lens that doesn't account for nuance. Without the full picture, conflict looks simple. Sides are drawn, motives are assumed. But from our point of view, we see something more layered. Two adults under pressure, balancing work and emotion, trying to hold it together in their own imperfect ways. And this leads into one of the episode's most important ideas. Not just about what kids notice, but how they interpret what they see. And this mirrors what a lot of kids do in real life. When children see adults upset, distracted, arguing, or simply acting distant, they often try to connect the dots in ways that don't fully reflect what's happening. Not because they're wrong, but because they're working with limited information and limited emotional vocabulary. That's why the ice cream scene is such a turning point. When Sparky offers them a spare cone, everything changes. Suddenly, he's not the enemy anymore. He's kind, approachable, human, and that's when Bluey finally asks, "So, she's not your enemy?" And Sparky responds with honesty, "Well, not usually." It's a small moment, but a huge shift in perspective. Bluey begins to understand that relationships aren't binary. People aren't enemies or allies. Sometimes they're just people having a hard time. Sometimes they're both. One of the most quietly meaningful moments in Trades comes when Sparky, holding 2 ice creams, looks around and says, "I wonder if anyone wants this spare ice cream." It's a simple line, almost a throwaway, but in the context of everything we've seen, it becomes something more. Until now, Bluey and Bingo have seen Sparky and Chippy as enemies. They've misinterpreted tension as rivalry, distraction as laziness, and silence as secrecy. They've assigned roles: the strict one, the slacker, the bad guys in their story. But this one small act, offering an ice cream, cuts through all of that. And here's the part that matters for us as adults. That kind of assumption making isn't just a kid thing. We do it too. We meet someone who's abrupt or distant and assume we understand their whole character. We fill in the gaps with our own narrative, rarely giving people the benefit of complexity. But kindness, like the one Sparky shows here, can reveal what we missed. That spare ice cream becomes a symbol. It says, "You were wrong about me, and that's okay. I'm still happy to share." It's a reminder that people don't always fit into the boxes we put them in. That generosity can be quiet, and that sometimes it only takes one soft moment to start seeing someone differently, if we're willing to look again. Sometimes enemies are just people we haven't understood yet. Sometimes all it takes is one good moment to change the story. There's something we often forget in the rush of everyday life. People are more complicated than we assume. A bad day doesn't define someone's whole character. A tense moment doesn't tell the full story. It's easier to judge quickly than it is to pause, reflect, and wonder what else might be going on. Beneath the surface, behind the silence, or beyond the first impression. Trades shows us what it looks like when people resist that impulse to judge, when they choose understanding over assumption. Sparky models something valuable here. He's not endlessly patient, but he doesn't write Chippy off. He sets expectations while still making space for someone who's clearly struggling. Chili, too, plays a quiet but steady role. She encourages the girls to pay attention and think critically, but never fuels the idea that the Trades are villains. She trusts them to figure it out, because curiosity, she knows, leads to something far more useful than judgment. And by the end, when Chippy and Cherry are seen hugging, we realize no one stayed an enemy. People changed, reconnected, grew. It just took time and space and a little grace. And maybe that's the deeper point Trades wants us to consider. How often do we allow others, or ourselves, the room to repair? How often do we confuse temporary tension for permanent damage? In a culture that moves quickly, slowing down long enough to see someone more clearly can be an act of generosity and a form of wisdom. What Trades ultimately shows, in a way that's funny, quiet, and completely child-appropriate, is that people are usually doing the best they can with what they've got. And when kids are given the space to witness that, without fear or oversimplification, they begin to develop something even more powerful than knowledge: empathy. Bluey starts out playing spy because she wants to expose the enemy. She ends the episode realizing there may not have been an enemy to begin with, just two people trying to sort things out, just someone trying to do his job, just a person who needed an ice cream and a bit of kindness. And if Bluey can learn that at 6 years old, maybe we can too. Because the truth is, kids are always watching us. Not just what we say, but how we treat each other when things aren't easy. These small moments, the quiet reconciliations and unnoticed gestures, are how they learn what relationships really look like, and what kindness really means. Because sometimes the person we think is the problem just needs a little understanding. If this episode made you feel something, or reminded you to look a little closer before drawing conclusions, consider liking and subscribing. We explore the quiet truths behind Bluey, one story at a time.